Tester from Montana is recognized for 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Brown. I want to thank all the folks that are here as witnesses today. I want to talk about housing from a little bit different angle. Okay, I've always talked about availability and affordability. It is a problem. It continues to be a problem. It was a problem before the pandemic. It is a bigger problem now because we're seeing prices go up. We're seeing people paying premium prices, sight unseen, cash on the barrelhead, all that stuff to buy a house. Some of them are going through you guys to buy it, but there's one thing for certain. Demand is outpacing supply, and the result of that is we're seeing housing prices in states like Montana go through the roof. I mean, we're talking 20, 30, 40, even 50% increases over the last 15 months. So what I would like to know is this a bubble? Are you folks concerned about this? And if it is a bubble and that bubble pops, and I was around here in 2009, 8, whenever it popped last time, and there was a lot of uncertainty. So the question is, if it's a bubble, and if that bubble pops, are you guys in good enough shape to handle that? And I assume you're going to say yes. Tell me why. And if you say no, thank God for your honesty. So I think we'll start with Mr. Scharf, and we'll just go right down the line.
Well, I think the answer to the first part of your question is, you have to look market by market. I think our assessment when we look at the markets which have seen material appreciation are because changes in trends. As far as how we feel, we have been, I think, relatively conservative in terms of how we have underwritten and how we continue to underwrite. And between our loan loss reserves and the amount of capital that we have, we think we will be just fine.
Okay, Mr. Solomon?
Unlike a number of the banks here, we have a very, very small, tiny mortgage lending book. So, broadly speaking, I think you do have to look at what's going on from a monetary fiscal policy perspective, how it's accelerating asset prices, how that's affecting prices of homes as we go forward. But in terms of our institution, it's a very, very small risk in our business platform.
But if we were to have a bubble that popped, it would have impacts on you, whether you have a small part of it or not. And do you see it as a bubble?
I don't see it as a bubble, but I think there's a lot going on that is inflating asset prices, and I think we have to continue to watch asset prices, watch inflation, watch monetary and fiscal policy, and hopefully the Fed will get the right balance. And if they do get the right balance, then it will turn out that there was not a bubble. If we don't get the balance right, there will be issues. And of course, there will be second or tertiary impacts to all this that will affect all these institutions, but we're very well capitalized and I think very well positioned as an industry to withstand that and continue to participate constructively at that time.
Okay, Ms. Fraser?
I think similar to Mr. Solomon, this has to be monitored very closely, and I think it's too soon to call whether it is or not. Housing is absolutely critical. We can support it through mortgages as well as affordable housing finance, and many of us have talked about the importance of support in that arena. We are speaking for Citigroup. We have a lot of reserves on our balance sheet, and we believe that we're in strong financial health. And we're hoping that with the recovery that those reserves will not be required.
Okay, Mr. Dimon.
Senator, to give you a little comfort, while it is a little bit of a bubble in housing prices, stuff like that, unlike 08 and 09, there was tremendous leverage and bad mortgage underwriting. Here, there's not much leverage and much better mortgage underwriting, so it wouldn't have the same effect on the financial system as we had last time. And I think all these banks, we have our capital runneth over. We have enough capital to withstand multiple crises. We did as we did in 08, as we did in the pandemic. We run 120 stress tests a week, some of them far more severe, the Federal Reserve severe adverse test, and we can handle all of that rather easily.
Thank you, Mr. Moynihan.
The last point that Mr. Dimon made is a key point, that the stress test, which assumes housing prices drop by 60%, I think the last one was, assume there's a downfall in housing. You can see the banks all pass the stress test with that. Secondly, I think the Mr. Scharf points about the underwriting has been much better done, frankly, in the last 5, 10 years, 15 years since the last housing crisis. And so the amount of leverage at the consumer level is much different. So I think that portends that they'd be able to make it through better also.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Gorman.
Not a bubble nationally. Certainly some suburbs look very frothy. The banks are extremely well capitalized to absorb should this be a downturn. And we're in, as my colleague said, in a very different position from 10 years ago.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.